In this video we will have a look at white's option on move 3, e takes d5 without c4. After e takes c5, c takes d5, there are some miscellaneous moves, bishop d3 and knight f3, which we will discuss in this video. We will meet some dry positions where black cannot really play for a quick knockout, but there is enough room to outplay your opponent later on. The positions will not be so exciting, but in one position I found an interesting idea. Let's start with a move for knight f3. Knight f6. White has two moves here, bishop d3 or bishop f4. After bishop f4, knight c6, c3, bishop f5, white has again two moves, queen b3 and knight bd2. After knight bd2, e6, knight h4, bishop g4, queen b3, bishop d6, takes, h3. We did not play bishop h5, we play bishop f5. White must take on f5 in order to justify his previous play. E takes, bishop e2, castle castle, rook fe8, rook ae1 and rook e7. The idea is to play rook a to e8 and potentially knight f4, knight e4. We see that the double pawns along the f-file are not all that bad, because they support the knight once it lands on e4. Black has very nice play on the e-file and certainly no problems. Seven, queen b3 instead of knight bd2 is also no problem. Black plays queen c8, knight bd2, e6. And here it is interesting to see that our so-called bad bishop on e8, on c8, our French bishop, is on f5, which means that he is outside the pawn chain f7, e6, d5. So we cannot really call this a bad bishop. In fact, the bishop on f5 is just as strong as the one on f8. Knight h4. For this very reason, white is chasing after the bishop. Bishop e4, and black is once again fine. After moves like f3, black plays bishop g6, and f3 doesn't really fit into the position. Black's position is solid, and of course he will not win the game in 20 moves, but the position is completely fine, and that is what matters in the first place. Let's have a look at fifth, bishop d3 instead of bishop f4. Knight c6, we will see the same structure as before. Castle, bishop g4, c3, e6, knight bd2, bishop d6, rook e1, queen c7, knight f1, castle. The position is not very exciting, both sides are solid, neither side has taken too many risks, and the position is about equal. Which leads us to the main move for bishop d3. Knight c6, c3, knight f6, bishop f4, bishop g4, and queen b3. And here I found an interesting idea. Of course there's nothing wrong with a conservative approach, knight a5, there are also other moves. Queen a4, bishop d7, queen c2, rook c8, knight d2, a6. These are all logical moves, a4, bishop g4, knight gf3, e6, knight e5 and bishop h5. It's a normal position, it's about equal I think, and very playable for black. However, I found an interesting idea, and as usual I'm searching for concrete solutions, and this is what I found. e5. It's a pawn sacrifice, white has many moves. Say h3. Knight a5, queen c2, we take the bishop, hg4, knight takes, queen e2, queen e7 is forced because the knight is hanging, knight f3, h3, pardon me, f3, queen takes e7, bishop takes, and gf. White has a doubled pawn on the f file, black has an isolated pawn on d5, opposite colored bishops. A draw is of course the most likely result, but it's not a draw as yet, so you can play on. Another idea, bishop takes e5. Queen e7. Now bishop b5 would already be a bit of a mistake because of knight d7 and f6 is threatening. So white does not do this. White goes f4. Knight h5, threatening, knight takes f4. Knight d2, f6. Queen takes d5, play becomes very sharp now. Rook d8, queen e4, g6, bishop c7, rook d7, d5, takes c7, takes c6, bishop e2, king e2 and knight f4 with approximately equal chances. Also possible, queen takes b7, rook b8, queen c6. For the moment black has a whole piece down. Bishop d7, queen a6, ef4, we gain our piece back. Knight f3. If white goes b4 in this position, we simply play queen c7. Now knight f3 would be a terrible mistake because of bishop takes b4 and black is already winning. So white goes queen a3 instead, rook b6. Black activates the rook along the 6th rank. Knight f3, rook e6, knight e5, f3. Castle, fg, rook e1 and knight g4. Black has the initiative and can be very happy about his position. So white plays 11, knight f3, we take on b2, castle, bishop e7, queen a7, castle, knight bd2 and queen a8. Even though we are a pawn down at the moment, there's nothing wrong with trading queens. First, white has this weak pawn on a2. Black's rooks on b2 and a8 are very active. There are also plans with rook a3, because the c3 pawn is also a liability. White has no real plans. The knights are currently protecting each other, but they cannot really go anywhere. So white has coordination issues and it's not easy to solve them. I think that black has full compensation for the slight material investment, and I think that there's nothing wrong with this. So all in all, I think the e5 move is very interesting and I couldn't find a refutation. And I wouldn't be averse to playing it myself over the board because I believe in its soundness. Of course, there is no need to play e5. There are other more conservative moves which are also completely fine. But e5 is a bit of an interesting move which can also lead to very enterprising positions and positions where black fights for an advantage very early on. So